Sophia Carter balanced a paper bag of groceries on one hip while holding her daughter Lily's small hand with the other. The 6-year-old sneakers, worn thin at the soles, slapped against the cracked pavement as they walked the 3 blocks back to their apartment. It was barely enough food for a week, but Sophia had stretched the last of her paycheck as far as she could. Life as a single mother in the city was a daily battle against exhaustion and bills. Sophia worked mornings at a cafe, afternoons cleaning offices, and evenings helping Lily with homework before collapsing into bed. Sometimes she wondered if she had any identity left beyond survival. One night, as she carried laundry up the narrow stairs of their building, her neighbor Mrs. Alvarez leaned over the railing. "Sophia," she whispered urgently. "There's a man, rich, private, who needs someone discreet to tend his injuries. He won't go to the hospital. You studied nursing once, yes?" Sophia froze. She hadn't finished her degree, but she still remembered the essentials: how to clean wounds, apply dressings, monitor for infection. Before Lily, she had dreamed of becoming a nurse. Life, and an absent father, had forced her to give that up. "I don't know," she began, but Mrs. Alvarez pressed. "He pays cash. Good money. More than cleaning jobs." Sophia thought of the overdue rent notice, of Lily's shoes with holes in the toes. Her pride fought to refuse, but practicality won. "Fine, I'll try. The address led her to the top floor of a gleaming high-rise. The penthouse was worlds away from her cluttered apartment: polished marble floors, walls of glass opening to the glittering skyline, the faint scent of leather and cedar. On a velvet sofa sat a man in his early 30s. His jaw was sharp, his eyes cold blue steel, his posture commanding despite the bandage wrapped clumsily around his arm. He looked more like a king on a throne than a patient in need. "You're the one Alvarez sent." His voice was low, clipped, impatient. Sophia set down her modest first aid kit. "Yes, I studied nursing before life changed. May I look?" He extended his arm without comment. The stitches were crude, clearly self-done, and the skin around them was inflamed. She worked carefully, cleaning and redressing the wound, her hands steady though her heart raced under his piercing gaze. When she finished, she said softly, "It should heal well, but I'll need to check it daily." "How much?" he asked. She hesitated, embarrassed. $200 per visit. It felt like robbery, but her rent loomed. He reached for his wallet, pulled out 5 crisp $100 bills, and handed them to her. "You'll come every day this week." Her mouth went dry. "That's too much." "Not for me," he interrupted, eyes narrowing slightly. "What's your name?" "Sophia. I'm Alexander Grant. Remember it. You'll be seeing a lot of me." Sophia's days quickly took on a new rhythm. She would drop Lily at school, rush to the penthouse, tend Alexander's wound, and often find herself staying longer than intended, making tea when he looked tired, sometimes cooking soup when he admitted he hadn't eaten. Alexander Grant was unlike anyone she had ever met. He was commanding, yes, used to being obeyed. But beneath the surface, she glimpsed cracks, loneliness, weariness, the weight of constant expectations. One afternoon, as she gently wrapped his arm, he said suddenly, "You don't look at me like everyone else does." Startled, she asked, "What do you mean?" "Most people want something: power, connections, favors. They look at me like a ladder. You look at me like I'm human." She flushed, unsure how to respond. She was just trying to survive, yet somehow she'd become the one person he confided in. One evening, after her cafe shift, she found Alexander sitting alone in the dim light, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. His tie was loosened, his expression unusually vulnerable. "Bad day?" she asked gently. He gave a humorless laugh. "The board thinks I'm distracted. The press calls me ruthless. Investors circle like sharks, and I'm supposed to act like I feel nothing." Sophia hesitated, then sat beside him. "Maybe you don't have to act. Maybe it's okay to feel." He turned to her sharply, searching her face as though for proof she meant it. His voice dropped. "When you're here, I don't feel like Alexander Grant, CEO. I just feel like me. And I can breathe again." Her heart clenched. She knew she should draw a line, keep things professional. But when his hand brushed hers, lingering, and his lips lowered toward hers, she didn't pull away. The kiss was hesitant at first, then urgent, full of longing neither had dared admit. When they broke apart, reality surged back, leaving Sophia breathless and conflicted. "This isn't right," she whispered. "You're a billionaire. I'm just a single mother who's stronger than anyone I know," he interrupted firmly. Don't ever diminish yourself. In the weeks that followed, Alexander's wound healed, but he insisted she keep coming. Only now, she tended not just his arm, but his solitude. He asked about Lily, and soon wanted to meet her. Against Sophia's fears, Lily adored him instantly, calling him Mr. Alex, and dragging him into games on the apartment floor. Sophia watched in wonder as the powerful CEO knelt on their worn rug, helping Lily with math homework or flipping pancakes in her tiny kitchen. It felt surreal, this man who had skyscrapers in his name, sitting barefoot at her table, laughing at Lily's jokes. But it also felt real in a way Sophia hadn't experienced in years. For the first time, she allowed herself to dream, of stability, of love, of a family where before there had been only struggle. But not everyone approved. Whispers began in Alexander's world. His board members muttered about scandal. The press caught hints of his visits to Sophia's neighborhood. Headlines speculated about the mysterious woman, distracting, the billionaire CEO. One evening, after a particularly tense day, Alexander arrived at her apartment looking stormy. The board threatened to remove me if I don't end this. End us. Sophia's chest tightened. Then maybe they're right, maybe I'm only hurting you. He seized her hands, his gaze blazing. No, don't say that. I've built empires, Sophia, but they mean nothing without someone to share them with. You and Lily, you're the first real thing in my life. Tears filled her eyes. But what if I can't fit into your world? Then I'll change my world, he said fiercely, to fit you. The weeks that followed were a storm, but Alexander did not waver. He faced down his board, ignored the tabloids, and showed up at Sophia's door night after night, as steady as the sunrise. Slowly, the world adjusted. His empire didn't crumble, and Sophia realized she was no longer on the outside looking in. She was part of it, not because of his money or status, but because he had chosen her. And she, against all odds, had chosen him. In tending his wounds, she had unknowingly healed her own, the wounds of abandonment, of struggle, of believing she was never enough. And Alexander, the billionaire who thought he needed no one, discovered the one thing he couldn't live without, the single mother who had walked into his penthouse and treated him like a man, not a title. Sophia Carter lived her life in fragments, pieces of herself scattered across endless obligations. Mornings belonged to her 6-year-old daughter Lily, afternoons to her cafe job, evenings to cleaning offices. When the day ended, her body ached, her mind spun with numbers, and her heart wrestled with guilt that Lily deserved more than hand-me-down shoes and dollar store crayons. The rent notice tacked to her fridge mocked her every time she opened it. She'd stretched her last paycheck to buy milk, cereal, and a bag of apples, but it wouldn't last the week. So when her neighbor Mrs. Alvarez mentioned an unusual opportunity, Sophia was desperate enough to listen. He's a wealthy man, Mrs. Alvarez whispered, leaning close in the dim stairwell of their building. Got injured, doesn't want hospitals, he needs someone discreet, someone who can tend wounds. You studied nursing, didn't you? Sophia froze. Years ago, before life unraveled, she had. But she'd dropped out of her program when Lily's father disappeared, leaving her with nothing but debt and a newborn. I remember some things. But why me? Because you won't sell his secrets to the tabloids, Mrs. Alvarez said simply, and because you need the money. Sophia thought of Lily's 2 small shoes, the empty fridge. Her pride bristled, but practicality won. Fine, I'll do it. The penthouse stunned her the moment she stepped inside. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a glittering skyline, and the air smelled faintly of cedarwood and something richer, success, perhaps. On a velvet sofa sat a man who looked carved from ambition itself. His jaw was sharp, his eyes ice blue, and his posture screamed command. But the bandage wrapped haphazardly around his arm betrayed vulnerability. You're the one Alvarez sent. His voice was low, edged with impatience. Sophia set down her modest first aid kit and nodded. Yes, I studied nursing before, circumstances changed. May I see? Without a word, he extended his arm. The wound was angry red, poorly stitched. She cleaned it carefully, her hand steady though her pulse raced under his gaze. When she finished, she murmured, "It'll heal better with proper care. I'll need to check it again tomorrow." How much? He asked bluntly. The question startled her. 200. She winced at how greedy it sounded. Instead of scoffing, he reached for his wallet and handed her 5 crisp $100 bills. You'll come every day this week. Her breath caught. That's too much. Not for me, he said simply. His eyes locked on hers, unwavering. What's your name? Sophia. I'm Alexander Grant. Remember it, you'll be seeing me often. The days blurred into a strange routine. After dropping Lily at school, Sophia hurried to Alexander's penthouse. She redressed his wound, brewed tea when he looked pale, sometimes cooked soup when he admitted he hadn't eaten. Alexander fascinated her. He was cold, yes, commanding in a way that made most people shrink. But there were cracks, moments when his voice softened, when his gaze lingered as if searching for something. One evening, as she packed her kit, he spoke quietly. You don't look at me like others do. She paused. How do others look at you? Like a trophy, a ladder, a bank account. His eyes narrowed slightly. But you look at me like I'm human. Her throat tightened. She wanted to tell him she didn't have the luxury of seeing him as anything else. Her world was bills and bedtime stories, not skyscrapers and stocks. But instead she simply said, maybe that's what you are. When she left that night, her hands trembled. She reminded herself. She was only here to earn money. But deep down, a seed had been planted, dangerous and undeniable. Part 2. When he needed more. Alexander's wound healed quickly, but he insisted she keep coming. Observation, he said. Sophia suspected it was for her company. One night, she arrived to find him alone in the dimly lit living room, his tie undone, a glass of whiskey untouched on the table. For once, the man who radiated invincibility looked humanly fragile. Rough day, she asked softly. His laugh was bitter. The board thinks I'm slipping. Investors doubt me. The press calls me ruthless. And I feel like a fraud. Sophia hesitated, then sat beside him. You're allowed to feel weak. It doesn't make you less. His eyes met hers, raw and searching. You don't understand. I can't show weakness. But when you're here, I can breathe. You see me, not the billionaire, not the CEO. Just me. Her heart raced. She should draw a line. But when his hand brushed hers, lingering, and his lips lowered, she didn't pull away. The kiss was a clash of need and surrender, a fire she hadn't felt in years. When they broke apart, she whispered, this can't happen. I'm just a single mother who's braver than anyone I've met, he cut in firmly. Don't belittle yourself. Soon Alexander insisted on meeting Lily. Sophia resisted at first, terrified of mixing worlds. But when he arrived at their small apartment, Lily took to him instantly, tugging him toward puzzles and nicknaming him Mr. Alex. Sophia watched in wonder as the billionaire CEO knelt on her worn rug, laughing with Lily, flipping pancakes in her tiny kitchen. It was surreal, yet it felt more real than anything she'd known. But the outside world noticed. Rumors swirled. Headlines whispered about the CEO, entangled with a waitress single mom. His board muttered about scandal, some threatening to push him out. Panicked, Sophia tried to end it. Maybe this is hurting you. Maybe we should stop. But Alexander pulled her close, his voice fierce. No, I've spent my life building empires, but what good is it if I have no one to share them with? You and Lily, you're the first real thing I've ever had. And I won't give you up. Tears burned her eyes. For years, she had carried wounds of her own, abandonment, struggle, the quiet belief that she wasn't enough. But here was a man who saw her strength, not her lack. The weeks ahead weren't easy. Alexander faced down his board, ignored the tabloids, and stood firm. Slowly, resistance faded, the world adjusted, and Sophia realized she had changed too. She was no longer just a single mother scrambling to survive. She was a woman loved by a man who had everything, yet needed her more than he needed his fortune. In tending his wounds, she had healed her own. And in her quiet strength, Alexander had found the one thing he never thought he needed, a family.